So our guest tonight is a pit bull in the skirt. Miss Crystal Young Esquire has more than 15 years in the real estate game. She's a real estate attorney, and she's a bad, bad woman.
Shut your mouth.
Such a mouth. You know, sitting on panels. You know, see what how look for real estate attorneys in the state of New York. She's going to here tonight to bring us that information. Jamie, can you bring in our sister, Miss Crystal Young?
Wow.
Oh, Crystal. All right. What up?
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening, sister. How you feeling tonight?
Thank you for having me, and what a wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Very welcome. So, Crystal, since you know the real estate game, you're a real estate attorney, right?
Yes.
And, we went over this last pandemic, and the people before, you know, you probably been through it when we had the recession stuff. What has changed in the market since the pandemic?
Yeah, so it's crazy, right? We think of COVID with you know, everyone's working from home, you know, the kids are home, you're homeschooling, barbershops are closed, you know, nail salons are closed, you know, you can't celebrate birthdays and different things in your home. But the real estate market started to crank during COVID. Houses are going over asking. People are waiving appraisal contingencies. So the real estate market's really on fire. And so what I think happened is that, and what I'm seeing, this is the trend, a lot of people are moving from the city. They're realizing because of COVID, you know, they may be in a 2-bedroom, say, co-op. You're in a 2-bedroom co-op, but the kids are home. That second bedroom now you have to turn into an office space because now you're working from home. The kids need a place, you know, to now do their schoolwork. So a lot of people were moving from the city into Long Island. So if you guys have seen, like maybe social media, maybe even on the news, open houses on Long Island, New York have, you know, lines around the corner where people are just looking for more space. And it's a good time to purchase a home because the interest rates are super low. So that's what we've been experiencing now, you know, due to COVID, that people are still buying homes. It's super competitive. Interest rates are low. So houses are flying off the shelves. It's definitely a seller's market.
Crystal, let me ask you this question. A lot of prognosticators of doom thought that Manhattan would never return. And so I know there's been this great migration out of Manhattan. Do you think it's opening up room for maybe a new generation of younger people who could not previously afford the city to now try to make their way into that space?
Yeah, Kelvin, that's such a great question. And absolutely. I tell everyone I know, it's the time to be prepared. We see just real estate is kind of like what happened with the stock market. So you think about, you know, during COVID, everything went down. And now if you invested during that time, now you're winning, right? Because, you know, everything now shifts back up. You know, during the pandemic, same thing with housing in Manhattan. You couldn't even sell a co-op or a condo in Manhattan. And now, you know, those prices have went down so people can actually afford it now. So definitely anyone that is looking to invest, and if you ever wanted to purchase a home in the city, this is definitely the time because you can get a really good interest rate at about 3% now. And also, you know, the housing prices in some areas, some very prominent areas of Manhattan, they're not the prices that we've seen in the past. So you can certainly, you know, open, you know, yourself up to now purchasing a co-op, a condo, or some town housing in Manhattan. So for sure, that's a great question.
Thank you.
And Crystal, I was definitely feeling you with all the things you said about people working at home and they needed to get more space and they moving out in the suburbs. I witnessed that firsthand. Also, too, people wanted backyards. They realized that, you know, being closed inside an apartment, they didn't have like their own backyards to get air.
Right.
But the thing is, I kind of noticed that commercial property all over is down. you know. So I was telling this one specific person that if they wanted to get into commercial property, that would be definitely the time. And I wanted to know if you agreed with that. And the other thing is, do you think that because the market got so high and people overpaid, do you think it's going to be a bubble that's going to pop because people overpaid, or those are going to be the new numbers?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So I'll start with the commercial space. So definitely commercial space, a lot of commercial space is sold by square footage and all of that. Why that went down? Because we understand the businesses shut down. So a lot of business owners just had to shut down, and they're selling for, whatever they can get. And people are nervous to now start businesses because of COVID. They're like, well, do I, actually need space? And that's what I think COVID has taught us, that we can do a lot of our business right from home. So unless it's like, something like a restaurant, a lot of times you don't even need a space now. So yeah, definitely, if you are looking for some commercial space right now, the numbers in terms of, square footage and that dollar amount you're paying per square foot, that is at an all-time low now. So it is definitely a good time to buy some commercial space for sure. Now, with regard to your other question, the other question was, just repeat it for me.
The thing is, I was saying that people are overpaying so much for homes now. Do you think that it's going to be a bubble that's going to pop, or do you think these are going to be the new numbers?
Yeah, definitely. So with regard to, a bubble, I actually worked in foreclosure during the recession period of 2007, 2008. I worked for a law firm that represented big banks in foreclosure actions. And during that time, why the foreclosures were like through the roof is because of predatory lending. So we understand that, a lot of people were just getting loans. All you needed, it was like a pay stub or a bank account, and you were given a loan, and you were given a lot of times an adjustable rate loan. And that's now why, that kind of, crisis kind of occurred. I don't foresee that happening again, because now the banks are heavily regulated. And so the people that are actually getting mortgages can usually afford it, unless a life event happens where, of course, they can no longer afford it. So I don't think we'll be in a crisis like we were in the past. What I do see now is that because people are buying well over asking price, I think what's going to now happen is that when they go to sell the home, if the interest rates decide to now skyrocket, then the house values will go down. And if the house values go down, then they may find themselves underwater because they purchased the home for well over what it's worth.
Correct. No equity is going to be in the house.
Exactly. No equity, maybe a lot of short sales and that and all of that. But I can't fathom that what happened in like 2007, 2008 will happen again. And honestly, I don't foresee the mortgage rates skyrocketing like, back in 2000, let's say 3 or 5, when, interest rates were 14, 15%. Right now we're at 3%. It's been at 3% or even lower for several years now. And so I don't foresee those interest rates skyrocketing at any point. So I think we're in a good place.
I've seen as low as 2.5.
Absolutely.
I got 2.75. But Crystal, can you answer the question from baby girl?
Okay, baby girl.
What do you think the real estate market over the next 2 years, and now that the pandemic is improving? You think it's still going to be good in every market, or just you just speak on New York market?
Yeah, I can speak on the New York market. Listen, I think if you want to buy a house, I think it's time to get prepared to purchase a home. Again, whether you want to invest, whether you're a first-time home buyer, it's certainly a good time to purchase. because of the interest rates. I call it free money. Sometime I'm at a closing table, I'm representing a buyer, and I'm looking at those interest rates, like you guys said 2.75%, 2.3% even. There's something called NACA where those home buyers are getting 1 point something percent. So if you're looking to buy a home and you're serious about it, now's certainly a good time, solely due to the interest rates and them being so low. It's really like free money.
Crystal, you just said that. You said a NACA program. I know this. I think it's in more than just New York State. Can you speak on that so people understand? And how can they find a NACA program?
Yeah, NACA program. So just NACA, you really just do a Google search and you see if you fall within those income requirements, but they're very strict in terms of the income requirements. But if you do qualify, you can essentially get a mortgage for like 1 or 2%. So it's a program that was created to allow people that maybe were thought not to be able to purchase homes, to encourage them to now be able to actually buy homes. Now through this program, they're actually able to buy. So, and there are some other programs, if you're looking to buy a home, definitely, just with the internet now, we can find anything. So if you're looking for like a grant, or, you just plug in grants for first-time home buyers in your county. The towns give grants, the counties give grants, the city, we have NACA. So there are many opportunities to purchase homes at low cost due to the grants that are offered.
Let me ask you a question. Like, how do a person find a lawyer like yourself? Like, what the person's researching, looking for attorney, lawyer? I mean, a real estate attorney. What should they be looking for first?
Yeah, definitely. When you're looking for an attorney, I'd say my claim to fame is like you want someone that's relatable, because when you think of attorney, a lot of people think, attorneys come with a negative connotation, and I really try to dismiss that myth that attorneys aren't relatable. Attorneys aren't, you can't speak to the attorney, your attorney's not your homegirl, this and that. So I really try to encourage home buyers to work with a attorney that you feel that you can relate to, and that's going to kind of understand where you are in terms of the home buying process. So my ideal client is a first-time home buyer. You can really just, if you're looking for an attorney, of course, again, with the internet, you can kind of do a Google search. But if you know anyone that has purchased a home, you'll kind of, referral is the best compliment. So, if you know of anyone that purchased a home, I would typically ask, well, who did you use? And, if they had a great experience, I would really start there in using someone that's known and trusted. Also, I get a lot of my referrals from real estate agents and also from mortgage professionals. So your first step when you're purchasing a home is to get a pre-approval. When you get your pre-approval from your banker, you can ask your banker, well, who do you suggest I use as the attorney? Who do you suggest I use as your realtor? Especially if you trust them. I would always get my professionals from a trusted source. So yeah, otherwise, here I am, and you can always use me. I'd be happy to help.
There's a question down there for you, Crystal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Online, I see a lot of seminars about multifamily homes for investing. Do you think they are better than single family for investing? That's a personal preference. Why you probably see a lot concerning multifamilies is because this is for someone that's really looking to now get, say, like a FHA loan. So you can get a FHA loan on a multifamily home, and they call it like house hacking. You probably heard that term, where you get an FHA loan, you only put like 3% down, maybe 3.5% down. The requirement is that you live in the property for at least a year. You pull the equity out of that home, and remember, it's a multifamily. So now you're collecting rent that's paying for half the home, or maybe all your mortgage or part of it. you take that money along with the equity you've acquired, and now you go and buy another multifamily, and then another and another. And that's how a lot of people get into this real estate game as a investor, by buying that first home as a multifamily, again, living in it for 1 year, and then taking that money, that equity, along with the rent that you've acquired, in the 1 unit or 2 units, whatever, and now purchasing another home. So multifamilies are definitely great, but it's personal preference. Some people, if you have a family, you're just, maybe you don't want to live in a multifamily, you just want to purchase a single family home, and you can acquire equity through that mechanism as well. Purchase a single family home, live in it a few years, acquire some equity, pull out the equity, and now go purchase another home and maybe rent it out, maybe then purchase your multifamily home. But if you're not living in the home, you can't use the FHA loan. And so that's the value in purchasing a multifamily home. With the FHA loan, you ultimately have to live in it, but that's the value of doing so.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal, could you explain? Because the thing is, I've talked to people about this too. People think automatically that a FHA is a first-time buyer. It's actually a owner occupancy loan. That, like you said, if you could elaborate on that so people can understand too, because everybody thinks it's a first-time buyers.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So the FHA loan, it's a federal loan. It allows you to put down, a smaller percentage down on the property, usually 3%, 3.5%. And the requirement is that you live in the home. So, and the requirement is that you live in the home for at least 1 year. So it's not necessarily just for first-time home buyers. A lot of first-time home buyers utilize the FHA loan system because, as a first-time home buyer, you want to put down as least as possible until you start to acquire that equity, and now you're able to use that money to do other things.
Crystal, I got a question for you. So I know you see a lot of people getting together now and they're trying to form corporations and purchasing homes. What's the pros and cons of, or is it all pros of forming a business to purchase homes instead of purchasing your own personal name?
So now, I guess the advantage of purchasing in a corporation, of course, is that it's now not in your personal name, in the sense that the liability is not on you, it's in the corporation. So what we learn is that a corporation is like a shield. So it shields you ultimately from being personally held liable for what may happen on the home. If in the case the home went into, you stopped paying your mortgage, the home went into foreclosure, the corporation would be responsible and perhaps not you. But there's something to consider when you are taking a loan on a property and you're putting it into a corporation. The lender often requires you to sign what's called a personal guarantee. So you are theoretically still responsible, not just the corporation, but you as an individual. That's if you're taking a loan. Now, if you're purchasing it, what we call all cash, in that case, there's no requirement, obviously, to have anything under your name. But the corporation is ultimately a protection, so such that you're not held responsible or liable in the case of non-payment on a mortgage, in the case of an injury, a fall, a slip and fall on the property. The corporation will be held liable as opposed to the actual individual.
So we got a question from Baby Girl again.
Baby girl.
Baby girl, you on my mind.
Yes.
D, don't do that again. No, don't do that.
Damn, man.
Killing it. I love it.
Yeah.
Crystal, I'm the metrosexual big guy in this room.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not bringing it up. I'm not bringing it up the other week.
I love it. I'm all for it.
I'm touching my feminine side.
I love it. It's so good. It's so good. All right, baby girl, since houses are what buyers prefer right now, what advice do you have for a seller of a condo? You know, it's honestly, it's all personal preference. I wouldn't necessarily say that, houses are the preferred, you know, um, you know, property, because a lot of first-time home buyers also don't want the responsibilities that are associated with purchasing a home. So kind of like myself, when it became time for me to purchase a home as a single woman, I said, all right, a co-op, a condo, or maybe a townhouse. So I kind of wasn't even thinking about a single family home, because for me, I made every kind of excuse that, well, who's going to do the landscaping, or who's going to, and there's a lot of our home buyers are honestly only looking for condos, co-ops. So I wouldn't get discouraged in any way. The market is on fire. So, whether you live in the city where I said some of the prices are going down, or you live on Long Island, or wherever you live, the market kind of like all over is really on fire, and people are purchasing. So I will put your house on the market now. If you do have a condo, it's certainly a seller's market. So I imagine that you will get listing price and above. And that's just, not even knowing where you actually have this condo you want to sell.
Crystal, let me ask you this question. A lot of people, especially younger people, they hear a list about houses being flipped and things like that. There's some, I think, erroneous information with a lot of young people. They may think that just flipping is easy, or it's a get rich thing. They don't understand what are some of the things that you come across with people who come to you and they want to buy a home that you really want to warn them to be aware of?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the homes, particularly the homes that, you want to flip, they need a lot of work. And I think that's really the biggest misconception, that, you buy a home cheap. Maybe you buy, say, a bank-owned property. You buy a bank-owned property super cheap, but then there's all this work that needs to be done. And especially when, your contractor starts, ripping into walls, or, doing things with the plumbing, you have to keep in mind what a buyer wants. So you buy an older home for, a reduced price, but now you want to construct the home in a way that a buyer would want the home. So for instance, an open theme. So now say there's walls all over, and once your contractor starts ripping into those walls, they realize the plumbing has to be moved. Something needs to be, fixed, and you ultimately end up paying much more than what you thought. And now to flip it, you're not really getting the value that you thought you would have gotten in the home. So for instance, you purchase a home for, $300,000 in a market where all the other homes in the area are $500,000, so you're looking at it initially like a $200,000 score, get rich quick. But first of all, the lumber cost right now is
through the roof. Yeah.
We all know that. So really, what I encourage my home buyers to do, and my future investors, is just really do your research. And you have to have like contractors that you trust, because contractors, tend to, especially knowing that you're new to the game, they tend to, tell you things cost, much more than they do. They tend to, charge it more for, construction costs, much more than, a savvy investor would pay. Tell you things that need to be done that actually don't need to be done, or tell you that they did things that they haven't done. So it is just very important to kind of have, what I encourage everyone to do, and what I've done myself, is to always have a mentor. So in any property that I'm looking to buy or anything, I always kind of have someone that I know is in the game and has been in the game for a while. And I'm like, who are you using? Set me up with your people. And I kind of need you on the project, even if I have to, and they're not going to work for free. So there must be some incentive, but to kind of gather someone and say, listen, I'll pay you to be the contractor on this and you just learn from them. But to just do it on your own, there's a lot of mistakes that can be made. So, but I will encourage you. I don't want to discourage you. I will encourage you to jump in and do it and become an investor, because we all know that the wealthiest people in this on this earth are have real estate. So definitely start to invest as soon as you can.
Hey, Crystal,
that's great advice. Great advice.
Yeah. Crystal, someone's watching this right now there, and they know that they've heard that there are programs, NACA, that'll help them, and the interest rates are low and all of this, and they have bad credit and they're a first-time a home buyer. What do they want to do first? And what would you tell them, and what would they look out for?
Yeah. So if you have bad credit, that doesn't mean, you can't purchase a home. Bad, we say bad credit, but that's all like relative. There's always a lender that's going to be able to qualify you for a loan, even with, a credit score in the 500s. Just your interest rate may be a little bit higher. So I wouldn't start with a credit counseling service. I think that's like a little bit of a myth that like, let me get my credit to a certain number, and we create this number in our head. We say, okay, my credit needs to be in the 700s before I go to anyone to try to, purchase a home. I would suggest against that. I would suggest you go to a mortgage lender or a mortgage broker first. Let them, the professionals, tell you where you are, and if I was to lend you the money today, this would be your interest rate, because you may hear that number and say it's 5%. And you may say, you know what? And there's this house that I want is 5%. You may just want to go ahead and move forward rather than waiting how many months until your credit score hits a 700. So your interest rate could be 3.5%, so definitely start with a mortgage lender, because the difference in payment may not even be significant. So you definitely want to start with the mortgage lender and not worry so much about your credit. If you really want to purchase a home, don't create a fictitious number in your mind before you start home searching.
And plus, when your credit gets a little bit better, you can always refi.
Correct.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. That's good advice, Rodney. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Crystal, word on the street, you got a book club. Can you tell people about your book club and what the other thing? Word on the street is, I heard from the birdie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you heard about the book club. Yeah, so we have the book club. It's called the Infinite Mindset Book Club. It's a book club that we created during the pandemic. For me, as you can see my bookshelf, I don't know if you can see in the back.
She can read.
Yeah, exactly. I have a ton of books that I haven't even read. I just see a book online, or, if I'm reading one book, one book is referring to another author, and, I go online, Amazon, you have the book tomorrow. So that's how, I kind of built my collection, along with, my personal development coaches. They're, Think and Grow Rich, and those types of books. They're encouraging you to get to read. So during the pandemic, I had the height of the pandemic, when everything really just shut down and nothing was open. I'm like looking around, what am I going to do? I pulled out my rollerblades that I hadn't, gotten on, and I went outside. I tried to rollerblade, realized I'm getting old, and my knees don't work the same. And,
so you don't have to Megan Thee Stallion knees. You don't have to Megan knees.
Exactly.
Drop down, get your eagle on.
exactly. So, I love that Kelvin rubs his face like, oh man, you gotta stop.
I say some stuff.
It's the best. I love it. Hilarious.
I'm sorry.
So I'm like kind of looking around, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? So, and that's where, I actually took a picture of my bookshelf, with some music in the background. You're just looking for things to post. And one of my girlfriends actually said, she goes, "Oh, you have a lot of books. You should start a book club." So I never really thought of that. I never been part of a book club, didn't even know what that would even look like. But, I kind of said, okay, well, maybe I will. You think of Zoom, and really, I love being around people and I love networking. So I'm like, you know what? This would be a good way, if anything, just to get some people together. And we can call it a book club, but it's really a way to network and get some people together. But it's really taken off. We have some phenomenal people that are part of the book club, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of, people that are seeking, personal development. We're reading only personal development books. Think and Grow Rich, Open Your Mind to Prosperity. Currently, we're reading a book, The Magic Power of Your Inner Conversations, by a phenomenal author. His name is Jermaine Miller. I think you guys should actually, just a suggestion, maybe he would be great for your show.
Well, hook us up. Give me the number. I'll text you later on to get the number from you.
Oh yeah, I'll give it right to you. I think because this is like his 4th book. We're reading the book. It's a phenomenal personal development book, and just people's lives are ultimately being changed by being part of this book club. So it's crazy how things just start from an idea. You create these things, you can just post something on social media and someone could say, "Oh, you should do this." Not that they want to do it themselves, but, "Oh, you go do it." And you're like, you know what? That's a good idea. And now, again, it's like really taken off. And from that, now we're doing Monday meditation, where 6:30 Monday mornings, we all get on a Zoom. We have a phenomenal yoga instructor, Sabrina Marisi, who, guides us through a yoga session, 20 minutes on Zoom, Monday mornings. And then we have Monday evenings at 8 p.m., 45-minute yoga session, again on Zoom. So it's phenomenal. Again, like, this starts your week off. Like, you wake up on Monday, you look forward to meditating. Is really life-changing. A lot of us just, we haven't been introduced to these things kind of growing up. And so now we're all kind of learning that, some of the most successful people in the world are meditating, they're doing yoga, they're reading books, and and that's what we're doing. So just so we can keep up with the most successful people in the world and continue towards that growth, towards personal development.
Can I do the yoga with my camera off though?
Yes.
I'm not the most respectable big brother, you know what I'm saying? So just make sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's on Zoom. So you guys all know how Zoom works. You turn your camera on and off. But yeah, I would invite all of your listeners. You guys.
So anybody could join the book club and the yoga sessions and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How can you find how do they join? How do we join?
Yeah, definitely. So you can always hit me up just on my social media. It's crystal.younglaw, and that's on Instagram and Facebook. But also the book club is the Infinite Mindset Book Club. So if you shoot a DM, you'll be reaching out to me as well. So
if anybody wants the info, I have an Instagram. I'll send you her Instagram.
Yeah, definitely.
Say it one more time for the people so they can make sure they get your Instagram.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's crystal.younglaw. And also the book club is the Infinite Mindset Book Club. And we also have the Infinite Mindset Empire, where, I would love you all to follow, because stay tuned. We're going to do a bunch of, and powerful kind of things towards personal development. We're really trying to create this space where towards self-development, again, going back to real estate, when you want to purchase a home, sometimes it really just starts with your mindset, just changing that mindset. Like, I can actually purchase a home. I can actually go out and do X, Y, and Z. I didn't talk a lot about my history, but I started as a paralegal, and I worked as a paralegal for a Oh, thanks for posting that. The Infinite Mindset Book Club. Thank you. But I started as a paralegal, and I represented like big banks that were foreclosing on people's homes. So I represented all the big banks. People were going through foreclosure, and you know, they would call, and it was terrible. It wasn't fulfilling. And I stayed there for 8 years before I made a decision that, you know what, this isn't my passion. This isn't my purpose. And I went back to school. I had to go back to school actually to do 2 more years to get my bachelor's. And then I went right to law school. But, you know, it's like, that's what the book club is about, an infinite mindset. It's about, you know, making decisions in life that, you know, I'm not going to go stay stagnant. I'm not going to work this dead end job. I'm not going to stay in this dead end relationship. You know, I'm going to take steps towards, you know, my purpose. And that's really what the infinite mindset is doing. So that's my rant for the night.
That's good. Crystal, our last and final question to you. You gotta name your top 5 MCs.
My top 5 MCs.
The hardest question. This is the hardest question since passing the ball.
Oh my God. All right. Who do I love? All right. Well, I like all types of music, right? We're talking about music, right? MC.
Hip hop. We don't
Okay.
have no rock and roll, none of that. Hip hop, MC.
So I was born in the 80s. So I'm very much into, you know, just the greats. So of course it was like Biggie and Tupac. So that's 2. I love Jay-Z. When I go to the gym, I'm all about Rick Ross.
You're a track queen. You're a track queen head. You don't
Yes.
so easy head.
I
And then
really
beat on
am.
by being a lawyer. Beat on case by being a lawyer.
It's the truth. It's the truth. You know, I like Future.
Okay.
And
That's kind of wild. You got you're a lawyer like Future.
exactly. Yes.
No.
Yes. Anyone that, you know, anyone I can really turn up to, particularly, you know, when I'm working out, really. But I honestly have to say Rick Ross is my favorite.
Rick Ross do get everybody turned up.
I don't know if that's 5, but
that's 5. That's 5.
Yeah.
That's a 5. That's a good 5. So, Crystal, we want to thank you for coming on tonight, man. It was great to have you. Love the informative talk and everything like that. So, and then look at this, people liking it. What you think? But Crystal, listen, we love you. Jamie, can you put where we can find Crystal at again, real quick, on Instagram? Do you have it, Jamie? Crystal.young.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So Crystal, thank you. And I will hit you up a little later on about to get the information from your guy.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. You should have him on immediately. He's amazing.
Perfect.
All right. Perfect. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's a great show. Thank you.
You do the same.